What's going on, Yugi Bros? Welcome to the first duel of the new format. This is, I can't wait for this box, guys. This box is so good. Oh, so much stuff. Today we are playing, and I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for this. We're playing Moth, but we're doing an interesting take on it. So as you can see here, first off, we have to stack the top card, we have to pay 4,000 life points, and we have to get the skills out, which we actually do at the end of this turn. Our opponent is playing XYZs. I know a big favorite deck that a lot of people wanted to see. They start out with a pretty amazing hand, and I know you're going to think, amazing, they didn't open the hanger. Trust me, guys, Foolish Burial's like mini hanger to this deck. Cosmic Cyclone, Z-Mid Tank, Foolish Burial, and Offerings to the Doomed. We're playing an interesting take on Moth. So we were messing with the OG route, which is, you know, the dark version, and we still are sticking with that dark version. However, we have replaced the Koichi and Midoriya with Swarm of Locusts and Swarm of Scarabs. Now, for the OG players that know what Pac-Man the deck is from way back in the day, it played the monsters that say they can flip themselves face down, and when they're flip summoned, they do something. Basically, flip-flop.deck, the original sub-terrors for all you newer players. So what's cool about the swarms being added to this game is that you can essentially play Pac-Man, and we'll definitely mess with a Pac-Man build. A lot of people have already been doing that, but I wanted to kind of give it a win con, and the win con is Moth. So replace the Nidoriyas and the Koichis with Locusts and Scarabs. The problem with the Koichi now is that Nomina Crossout exists, and that's huge against the Koichi. That can remove all 3 copies in one swoop. So the Swarm monsters play around that, and in addition, the Swarm monsters are dark, so they work with Allure, and they're insects, so you can shuffle one back into the deck with Cocoon of Ultra Evolution's effect. It's just magical how this deck actually comes together. So we're playing a few different techs. We're also playing less traps because we're main decking Jinzo, a huge new fan favorite in this game, and Jinzo's going to do a whole lot to the insane trap decks that have been running amok for the last year. Zoma, Nightmare Wheel, Dust Tornado, that group of cards. We are still playing Wabakus. Wabakus is just really good combination with this thing, but Jinzo, it's basically like if you have the Jinzo out, you're not playing the Wabaku, and if you don't have the Jinzo, you're playing the Wabaku kind of type situation. So here we go. On the end phase here, we put both the skills up. You all know what Cocoon does by now. You contribute an insect from either field, equipped with an equipped card, to play an insect from your deck. And yes, I know these aren't problem-solving texts. These were just custom skills that were on Dueling Book. And then the other effect is you can shuffle an insect from your grave into your deck and draw a card. Both skills is once per duel. The new skill union combination is what our opponent is playing in their XYZ deck, and this will be the skill you guys will probably see a lot in XYZs. This skill says activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can fusion summon one light machine fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your grave or field as fusion material. For the rest of this turn, your opponent takes no damage. So this is really cool. You know how like ABC in today's game, to summon it, you can banish the pieces from the field and or the graveyard? Well, OG XYZ Dragon Cannon you can only banish from the field that you control, but this kind of bypasses that, allowing you to use field and grave to fusion summon. We're going to assume, since this doesn't actually tell you where the materials go, we're going to assume it just essentially is following how you would to summon the fusion monster. As of right now, we've been playing it as it just banishes the materials. It is very vague, though, that they didn't explain exactly where the materials go, especially because you can use ones in the graveyard. It realistically won't be they could just sit in the grave and you can essentially summon a fusion monster every turn. That wouldn't make any sense. But so we're gonna banish them. We're gonna play it off of whatever the monsters say. But looking forward into the future, this only specifies light machines. So let's say like Cyber and Dragon, for example, if we eventually get that. how would this play exactly with that? Would it banish the materials? I assume, again, it would, because it can use from the graveyard. And it doesn't say shuffle into the deck. So obviously we're just going to play it like it banishes for now. That would be the fun and fair way to play this card. Anything else seems kind of OP. So they're going to pass with both Cosmic Cyclone and Offerings of the Doom. Cosmic Cyclone, a huge boost to the Speed Duel world. I'm actually a little sad we got this, but this card is nuts, guys. You pay 1,000 life points, target a spell trap on the field, and banish it. Literally better Mystical Space Typhoon. Obviously it's in here over MST though, because you do pay the 1,000, so late game this could be dead depending on where you're hitting it. But as we've always talked about, guys, life points are a resource until you get very, very low. So 1,000, no real big deal. I'm sure that's not a big deal. In addition to our swarms, we are playing Creature Swap in this deck. Another new card. Each player chooses a monster on their field and switches control of those monsters. Reason we're playing that is because both of these are weak as hell. Along with extra paranoids if you draw these later in the game. And combined with Creature Swap, it allows you to give the deck essentially another win con in the sense if they put a big monster on the field. Let's say they've dealt with your Moth, or the Moth just never happened to come out. And these things keep flipping to destroy, to basically gain you field presence by destroying spell and traps or destroying monsters. You could, for example, flip Swarm of Locusts face up, pop a back row they control, and if they have a big monster, then Creature Swap this to the field, get their big monster, and then run over the Swarm with their big monster, and then you keep it for as long as it stays on your field, which is kind of insane. This card is ridiculous. It's actually won me my very first invite way back in the day. Love this card to death. Super happy to see it. It's essentially Creature Seizure for everything, for the people that know what Creature Seizure does. So we're going to go into our main phase, and we're going to set Swarm of Locusts, which is the one that destroys spell and traps. The reason we don't want to set Scarabs is it destroys a monster, but we want a monster in the field so that we can use our Paranoid. We're going to set Waboku. The reason we're playing Waboku over something like Negate Attack to keep this face down, there's no main phase 2 in this game, so it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference whether or not this is face up or face down going into our turn. And this is more chainable than something like Negate Attack or Widespread Ruin, for example, would be. We just want it to be chainable to anything, especially when our opponents are playing something as crazy as Cosmic Cyclone. And the other thing is, like, once, it doesn't matter if they're face up or face down going into our turn, we'll use its effect if it's face up to flip it face down and then flip summon it the old-fashioned way, or, you know, if it's face down, then you just flip summon it as always. But Waboku is just more generic. However, on the end phase, they are going to Cosmic. This is the only time that Waboku doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what the trap would be at that point in general, because they had the Cosmic Cyclone. So they're going to draw into X Head Cannon, guys. And they are going to summon Z Metal Tank. They're going to then activate Foolish Burial, dumping Y Dragon Head to the grave. So you're going to see right now why Foolish Burial is mini Union Hanger. They're going to then use the skill, banishing from field and grave the materials to make said light fusion machine monster. So Foolish Burial basically facilitates whatever you need to give you your fusion monster. And because there's obviously all the combinations require this, this, and this, you can send whatever piece you want plus whatever you had in the field to give you the exact fusion that you need. YZ says you discard a card to target a face-down monster on the field. I'm sorry, that your opponent controls and destroy it. XY, if I remember correctly, destroys a face-up spell or trap, and XZ destroys a face-down spell or trap. XYZ destroys any card. All require a discard, all cannot be special summoned from the grave, all do not use polymerization. So they're going to destroy this with their effect. They're going to go into the battle phase and attack, however they can't do damage based off Union combination skill. Since they did fuse using the grave effect, they, for the rest of the turn, cannot do damage. So they're going to pass. We're going to draw into Swarm of Locusts. We're going to activate our Parasite Paranoid on XY. They're going to immediately Offerings to the Doomed to their XY. So that's going to get around our Moth play. Not a bad choice for them, however, they can't draw. And I believe here we actually do screw that up. We forget on the no draw effect. And they top deck the Union Hanger. So, I know we screwed up the draw effect, guys, please forgive me on that part, but let's just showcase how good this one field spell is. This thing adds a light machine union from deck to hand. Keep in mind that can't add X Head Cannon because X Head Cannon is not a union monster, it's a normal monster. So they're going to add, after checking the grave a few times, they're going to add Y Dragon Head to hand, which is actually, I think, the one you'd always want to grab, because, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, these actually give different boosts depending on which is equipped. This only gives a 400 attack and defense boost to the monster it's equipped. This gives a 600. And obviously they're both 15, so if you're going to want either which one equipped, you're going to want Z equipped, so you're going to want to normal summon this one, so they're always coming out at 21. Basically how Union Hanger is going to do it here. So they're going to get this with Hanger, then Hanger says when you normal or special summon a Light Machine Union, you can equip an appropriate Light Machine Union with a different name from your deck to that monster. You can't special summon it though with its effect to the field that turn, thank God. But this is still a really, really powerful card, and obviously now you guys get to see it in all its glory. So this is this. These also all say if the equipped monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you destroy the Union monster instead, which is really nice extra coverage to give these things extra protection. So this is 2100 and it's Swarm of Locusts. Obviously it only gets its effect when it's flip summoned, not when it's flipped, so it's not going to do anything and they're going to pass. We draw into another Swarm of Scarabs. Like I said, this is the one problem with this deck that I've had, is the infinite swarms start to quote-unquote swarm your hand. Thank you, good night. And so that's why we're playing Creature Swap to kind of fix that. However, we realized we didn't use our other skill yet, so we're going to shuffle in Parasite Paranoid to draw one card, and we hit another Paranoid. So then we're going to normal summon Scarabs. Clearly we're not using it for anything more than just swap fodder, and then we'll have our Wide Dragon Head now swing over their Scarabs. So we pass. They top deck Union Hanger, or I'm sorry, Union Scramble. Union Scramble, guys, is insane. This was in our top 10 list of cards. This was in the honorable mentions of options that I said should not come to speed yet. It'll probably be too broken, and yet here it is. We have this and this. This deck is very powerful just based off of these two cards alone. Now this one says you target up to 3 of your banished Light Machine normal monsters and or Light Machine Union monsters. So this time it includes X-Head Cannon. Special summon them. So you could special summon, if you had 3 banished, you could special summon all 3, which is ridiculous. Summon all 3. It's like what's the band card? Return from a different dimension, except you don't even pay life points to do that. Second of all, by the way, except the turn it's sent to the grave, you can banish it from the grave to target a banished Light Machine normal or Light Machine Union monster and return it to the hand. So if you had one of these left over on a different turn after this was sent to the graveyard, you can get a piece back. So much versatility in just this trap card. I am amazed that we got this as well. This card is really powerful. So they're going to draw that and pass. We draw into Wabaku. Thank God we need some defense. We're going to set Swarm of Scarabs. We're going to set the Wabaku, and we're going to go into battle phase and swing in for what would be 21. Now, we did actually misplay last turn. We could have summoned Z Metal Tank that was equipped to the Wide Dragon Head to the field, getting this boost off of this monster, and then getting Union Hanger's effect to equip something else. But we did miss that. However, they're going to activate the Union Scramble anyways, summoning 2 monsters, and then trigger the Union Carrier, and then trigger the Union Hanger to equip the Z-Metal Tank to the Wide Dragon Head. So now all of a sudden, now we got to use counters to remember what's what here. So now, this can, if it's destroyed by battle, this is going to die instead, so we have to attack their Z-Metal Tank to get some type of field presence going. They pass, they draw on a frontline base. This is actually a really nifty card. Once per turn, you can special summon a level 4 lower Union from your hand. This doesn't care if you have no monsters on the field, which is nuts in my opinion, since usually most of these things that special summon something for free say you have to have no monsters to do so, whether it be Valhalla or Water Hazard, which we both have in Speed Duels now. But this one, no, just once per turn, you can just dump a free monster. Really good starter card, but at this point, obviously, it's kind of a dead card. But hey, nothing's dead when all your cards require a discard. So they're going to use Union Combination. They're going to banish X and Z from the graveyard, and they're going to summon XZ Tank Cannon. Tank Cannon's then going to activate, discarding frontline base, destroying our face down. We're going to chain Wabaku, so our monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, and we take no damage. This card is also crazy. I can't believe we got this already. But I can't wait to utilize it as much as possible. Keep an eye on burn decks. This card loves burn decks. Burn decks love this card. Then we're going to use Z's effect to normal summon it. We're going to then trigger Union Carrier Hanger. My God. Equipping Y to that. Let's get some counters here to remember what's what. And then we're going to go full frontal assault here. So keep in mind, again, we can't do any damage, but we can attack. So we're going to have this swing into this and this swing into this. At this point, they, however, realize that we flipped the Wabaku, so they can't do anything to us. Normally, they don't. Normally, they wouldn't take damage for the rest of the turn, but they'd still be able to destroy our monsters. But thanks to our Wabaku, none of that's going to happen. We draw into a Lure of Darkness. I think maybe we should have used this first, or like set it as a monster, but for some reason we felt real gimmicky here, and we drew into Swap and another Paranoid. So unfortunately, we're forced to discard our entire hand. We're going to use Scarab's effect to flip itself face down. Then we're going to flip Summon it, use its effect to destroy a monster on the field. We're going to target this one, however, again, the equips say if they're destroyed by battle card effect, their other thing goes to the grave. So unfortunately, that's all we can do. Then we use its effect to flip itself back face down. Keep in mind it's a soft once per turn, so we can do that again. Then we're going to have Y Dragon heads crash into each other, and then we're going to pass. So we still have 4,000 life points. However, they draw into Offerings of the Doomed, so we're a little behind at this point. They're going to banish Z and Y for another YZ Tank Dragon. They're going to then use its effect to pitch Offerings to the Doom, destroy our face down defense, and swing for 4,500 to the face. So it's insane because I really thought going into this, this new Moth build was just so ridiculously overpowered. And yet XYZ showed me why it's probably going to be a top tier deck going into this new format. This deck is really cool, and it's got such a high ceiling as to what it can do. So going into game 2, let's get the skills and all this crap out here. I can't wait for this to actually be in the speed duel thing, so I don't have to keep doing this. We're just going to set a lure. We don't really want to set or reveal anything. We're just going to pass, and if they Cosmic this, then they won't Cosmic this. That's the plan, at least, anyway. Go figure, they have the Cosmic, so they get rid of our Allure. So they fell for the bluff. They're going to then activate Hanger, which I understand they'd fall for this bluff. I mean, I understand keeping this because they know they're playing Moth. But this, if you look at the rest of their hand, they didn't have a monster. This is what gets everything going. So they wanted to make sure whatever our back row was, it wasn't going to interfere with their Union Hanger at all. So they'll get Y Dragon Head. As we said again, that's probably the one you want to get most of the time. They're going to use that Union Hanger's effect to equip Z, so it's up to 2,100. They're going to then Foolish Burial and X-Head Cannon. I feel that's a little premature. You might want to save that for a later play. Unless you plan on doing something this turn with the X-Head, but they didn't. Instead, they're just going to make the YZ. Now, normally, I would just leave this board up because one thing is protecting the other, but obviously they did that because they have the Union Scramble in hand, so they want to get the most out of their Union Scramble. Keep in mind, this is up to 3, so it doesn't even have to be 3. That's how versatile that card is. They're going to set 2 cards and swing, and we're going to take 21 to the face. We draw into a second creature swap. We're going to use Paranoid on their YZ, but they're going to chain Book of Moons, so we never actually have a target for this to be equipped to, and this is just going to fall completely off and never resolve. However, we will use our skill to shuffle it in and draw a card, and we draw into Swarm of Locusts. That's the one that destroys spell or traps. We're going to normal summon it, creature swap since we know what we're getting, and they chain the Union Scramble. This is actually really pro play on their part. So they get the 2 monsters, and then creature swap resolves, and they can give us whatever one monster they want. So they're going to give us Z Metal Tank, and then we're forced to give them our Locust. And then, as a new chain, Union Hanger activates because these things hit the board, and they're going to put Z Metal Tank on the Y Dragon Head, and now all of a sudden, what looked like a pretty good play, we're going to swap this for this, flip this face up, swing over this thing for 11, have this thing on our field, all of a sudden became such a downside. And yeah, we could creature swap again, but they realistically are just going to give us this back. We'd rather have a little bit bigger of a monster. So we pass. Thinking about it going forward, I guess I should have put it in attack mode and swung over this, but it really doesn't matter. At this point, they are so far ahead of us. So going into the next turn, they're going to set offerings, and they're going to just straight go into battle phase. I think they thought maybe we had a Wabaku. Unfortunately, we didn't, and they're going to swing for game. So let's talk about this list, shall we? We're playing 2 Moth, 2 Jinzo, which we never saw, crazy. 3 Storm of Scarab, 3 Swarm of Locusts, 3 Parasite Paranoid, 1 creature swap in the main. 3 Allure of Darkness, 3 Book of Moon, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, and triple Wabaku. The way I see this, obviously you stick with this combo, this package is fine. Jinzo's in the main because we're not maining traps. We do side Zoma if we want to bring it in and drop Jinzo. 3 and 3, I'm still messing around with numbers. We might actually change it to 2 and 2 just based on how this was going. Maybe I'll go back to playing a few Midoriya. I just feel like the Koichi this format is going to be a lot worse solely based on Nobleman and Crossout's existence. Like, I'm siding it in almost everything if I'm not maining it. So it's just, it's tough to say. Obviously, Midoriya doesn't get screwed over by it, so we'll see where it goes. Definitely probably going to change the number of this a little bit, but I wanted to see how much we could add Pac-Man to Moth or Moth to Pac-Man, so we maxed out on the numbers. We don't have Deslakota. Deslakota, for the people that don't know, is the other Pac-Man type card. However, it's an Earth monster, and I was maxing on Allures, so I didn't want to use this. Plus, this is the draw power engine anyway. Like, we would just swap this for this at that point. So I'd rather not draw these with this. I'd just rather have a consistent deck. The 1 creature swap's fine. It's clutch. I think it's real good. 2 is a bit excessive. We did obviously bring in 2, as you saw there. I don't know if we need a second one or not. Triple Allure is fine. Triple Book of Moon. This card's ridiculous. Obviously, this is gonna see play forever. And then these also plus on being flipped face down and then reflipped essentially. So Book of Moon kind of plays a double standard here, which is nice. Cosmic Cyclone's, in my opinion, the new staple card to get rid of spell and traps. At least 2. 3 might be too much just based on the 1,000 life points, but I think 2 becomes a staple in almost every deck. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes with that. And then triple Wabaku to, you know, give you extra protection and also protect these things so that they can go off more. Like I said, we side the 1 cross out, the 2nd creature swap. We're still siding this. We're still playing this in some decks. I feel like this is better in some builds than Book of Moon, and Book is better in some builds than this. This deck never needed this thing, but with the lack of traps, I might actually throw it back into the main deck. Maybe take out a Book and a Wabaku or something, some combination. If I'm dumping one of these, then, you know, we can mess around with it, of course. But Book of Moon and Offerings will be the cards, I think, that'll keep getting swapped between. And like I said, lastly, the 2 Zoma the Spirit. But let's talk about the XYZ deck. XYZ, the OG ABC. This was playing 2 X Head Cannon, triple Y Dragon Head, triple Z Metal Tank. I opt only 2 X Head over 3, solely because you can't search it with this, and it's literally the deadest of the 3. I guess you could go 3, 3, and 3 and not really have too much of a problem. I don't know, it kind of depends. It's all dependent on where you're at. I like this ratio, but I'm definitely not against testing a 3rd X Head Cannon, just in case. But normally this is the one you want to normal summon, and if not, this is it, because you can get this with Hanger and vice versa. Triple Hanger, it's just triple Rota for the deck. Triple Foolish, it's arguably triple Rota for the deck with your Union Combination skill card. Keep in mind, if you're not using Union Combination skill, then I wouldn't play this. Or maybe I'd play 1. I don't know. It's all debatable on how you play the deck. 1 frontline base, card's clutch. Originally I was playing 2 and 3, but once you have it, they're all just dead. And while I understand the idea of seeing it turn 1, just making your turn 1 insane. Turn 1, making a turn 1 with 4 cards starting hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! isn't really... I don't know, I don't like pitching my entire hand to dedicate to one monster. And Frontline's part of that combo. I definitely wouldn't cut this card, but I don't think I'm going to play more than 1 of it, just because if I have it in the beginning, great, but if I don't, it's just a discard fodder option. And most of the time, with Foolish Burial, if you're playing the Union Combination skill, you only need 1 monster on the field. You don't need that second monster. That second monster plays more like a beat stick than it does an actual fusion material, at least in my experience. 1 Iron Draw, we never hit this, but this card's actually pretty clutch in this deck. If you control exactly 2 machine effect monsters and no other monsters, draw 2 cards, and then for the rest of the turn after it resolves, you can only special summon once. Keep in mind, you're only probably going to special summon once afterward, and that is for a fusion monster. But this is clutch with both this card, and if you make a fusion off the skill and then normal summon one of these or vice versa, you just get 2 free cards, which is nice. Double Cosmic, like I said, is probably the new staple spell and trap hate card. 2 Offerings, I feel like that's better in this than Book, because you just want to get rid of the option on the field rather than flip it face down and then hope to either run it over or pop it by discarding with something like this. I'd rather just get it off the field. One metaverse, it's essentially terraforming for this, but can also activate it from the deck. The only reason I'm not playing more than this is because it's slow, and you're playing 20 cards, guys. Like, don't forget, 20 to 30 card decks with playsets is insane compared to what regular Yu-Gi-Oh is. I know the thought process in the beginning was triple this, triple this, triple this. Nah, I tried it. You just see Hanger too much. You can only activate Hanger once per turn anyways. And there's not a huge upside to activating this on your opponent's turn outside of just you didn't open it. So we've been playing one. We might actually cut this completely, but I don't hate it, and it's an easy side out for other options. And then Triple Union Scramble. I played 2 of this. I didn't see it enough. I wanted a third one. Sometimes 3's too much. It depends all on how you want to have your opening hand go. But this card is so clutch. It's just so ridiculous in the advantage that it consumes. It's insane. And a powerful card to play with this is Jinzo. Like, even if I side in the Jinzos, I'm keeping 1 to 2 of these in. Because this card is just so good. It's free tribute fodder with this card. Obviously, a Union equipped to a monster that was already there for a turn is also free tribute fodder for Jinzo. But it's crazy what you can do with it. Like, the only other option that I was still thinking of messing with is Rollout, where you target a Union in the grave and equip it to a monster you control that's an appropriate target. I mean, that facilitates the need to still play 3 Foolish Burial if you were to play this card as well. And I might cut the metaverse, like I said, for the rollout. Like, the rollout's clutch. It can be clutch. Because whatever you equip from the grave to the monster, you could then use its effect and summon it to the field. So that option does exist. That's why I like this deck. There's a lot of combinations to do with it. And then this could be tribute fodder for something like a Jinzo. Or fusion material. Like, it's all up to speculation. If you don't play Union Combination the skill, I would definitely recommend playing 1 to 2 of these. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different routes you can go with this deck. We played 2 Nightbeam. So I was originally playing Twister, but the problem with Twister and Cyclone is that that's a lot of life you're paying. And I'd much rather dedicate paying life to this card than I would Twister. So Dust Tornado is the other option, but this deck also likes to pounce on the turn that it's setting up. And this is way better than Dust Tornado in that situation. So far in testing, I think Nightbeam is better. But of course, it all depends on what the format looks like. Right now, we're in an open format. We have no idea what's going to be the best deck. We have no idea what's going to be good decks or played decks or any of that. So I'm just playing whatever fits the deck best. 1 Book of Moon, you could bump this to 2. Like I said, it depends on the format. But we have offerings, and then we have our own brand of monster destruction. So this is all just speculation. And then 1 Ryoku Field. I feel like this is good in this deck because most of the time you're protecting the 1 monster. And while these can equip to themselves and basically protect themselves, this protects your fusions from being offerings or booked or, I don't know, it like anything from a spell that targets exactly the 1 monster. And this is a very specific niche card, but the thing is, if you're just protecting the 1 specific monster, offerings and book are going to get played and everything. Like I said, this is actually a really good out to that. We're only playing 1 again because it's situational. I don't know how often this is going to be live, but the option is there, and I think this is probably so far one of the best decks to utilize something like this in. Like, obviously, when you're playing a deck around a big monster, most of the time this is where you'd play this. And then we play 2 YZ, 2 XZ, 1 XY, and 1 XYZ. So here's my logic on this. This is the one you 100% want 2 of. It targets a face-down monster your opponent controls and destroys it. This is also the combo you're going to end up with most, like I said, because these are the 2 effect monsters. This is not. So you're maxing out on both of this. You're going to hit both of these the most. This is the one you want most of. You could arguably play 3. I don't see a situation where you're really ever going to summon 3, though. This and this are up to you and up to what the format is. One of these you're going to play 2 of, and one of them you're going to play 1 of, unless you cut XYZ completely, in which case you play 2 and 2. It's a little awkward because we only have 6 card extra deck, but I wouldn't be like, Konami, bump our extra deck to 7. As much as that sounds great in theory, I like that we actually have to think about this. I started with 2 of these and 1 of these. I changed it to 2 and 1, simply because this destroys face down spell and traps, and this destroys face up. The problem with that is that if they change something, let's say they have Nightmare Wheel face down, and you target their face down and they flip Nightmare Wheel, this loses its target. it had to have been face down. It doesn't say destroy it says destroy that target. So once it's face up, that target is essentially gone, which is a real pain. But until the format becomes more spread out and we know if face up is more relevant than face down, I say go with this one, simply because, again, like, we have Jinzo in the game now, and we're siding Jinzo, and we have these, and we're siding Nightbeam, and we'll see where Nightbeam goes in Ryoku Field and all that. But basically, I feel like the back row is going to be face down more often than it's going to be face up. And even if it's not, even if it is chainable, you're going to run into Wabakus a lot. You want to activate the Wabakus before you attack. You want to bait their back row before you attack, especially with widespread ruin now in this game. You want to pop their face downs before you attack. It's just safer. So I think this is the safe route, playing 2 and 1. And then the 1 XYZ. Again, you could cut XYZ and play 2 XY. I honestly feel like these are better to play than this most of the time. There is very seldom situation where this is the card you're going to make because you contribute 3 monsters to it, and you still have to discard, which I think is such a pain. But it does destroy any 1 card, so you can destroy a face-up monster, because there is no one that destroys face-up monsters, it's only pops face down, or any other card that you need to get rid of. I definitely would suggest you play this, because you can. Like, it's easy to, it's easy-ish to bring out. Obviously, these are easier, but this will come up. So that's how I look at ABC right now. Yeah, we saved it as the OG ABC. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sorry this video is a little bit longer than normal. These videos are going to be a little bit longer than normal because I want to explain stuff, but again, like, I understand time constraints. Nobody pays attention to anything over 20 minutes anymore, so good thing the duel ended 20 minutes in. The rest of this has just been me explaining stuff. But anyways, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know where you guys are at with Dex, Therios, whatever, because we have only just begun.